Man, it's your boy CJ. Hey man, thanks for tuning into Hard Money Hustle. I am also the founder of Grandiose Capital. For all my real estate investors out there that need access to private money or hard money, make sure you go to www.grandiosecapital.com. Hit me up. So today's video, we're going to talk about the difference between successful investors and the difference between not so successful investors. So if you're watching this video and you want to be a successful investor, make sure you follow the things that successful investors do and get rid of the things that unsuccessful investors do. So I deal with investors every single day, right? I lend money to real estate deals every single day, right? And you have investors that are successful, who are healthy, they have good money in their bank accounts, they're actually running a business. Then you have very unsuccessful investors. I see them both, right? The people who barely have any reserves, they barely have any money in their bank account. They're all over the place. They're not very organized. And 9 times out of 10, their deals don't even go through, right? Because they're not successful. So I'm going to give you the breakdown. I'm going to tell you the traits that I see in the successful investors opposed to the ones that are not so successful. So I'm going to start with the ones that are not so successful, because if you see any of these traits in yourself, work on getting rid of those things, because at the end of the day, a lot of people don't understand that the money that you make right now has a lot to do with who you are, right? When you change as a person, it's crazy how your income changes, right? There was a lot of stuff that I was doing to myself. I was self-sabotaging myself and I didn't even know it. But then when I started running a business, I started realizing, damn, there's some of the stuff that I'm doing that was self-sabotaging myself. And guess what? All I had to do was just get rid of the stuff that self-sabotaged me. And guess what? I ended up making a lot more money, and the business continues to grow, and we keep growing year over year. And as I notice, the more stuff that I get rid of, the more revenue that I make, right? So I'm going to start off with the stuff that the unsuccessful investors do, so you know what not to do when it comes to making money, right? So one of the things that the unsuccessful investors do is they are very unorganized, right? They take forever to get you documents, right? They take forever to get you simple documents, simple things, bank statement, or, just very light stuff. We're at Grandiose Capital, we do light doc. What does that mean? We don't ask for very many documentations because we're asset-based lenders, right? But if I ask you for your LLC documents, because you're going to put this house in your LLC's name, it's going to be under your LLC. If I ask you for your LLC documents, it shouldn't be that hard to get those documents over to me. That is one of the things that the unsuccessful investors tend to not be the best at, is organization. If you suck with organization, run a business and hire a personal assistant who can do this stuff for you, because it will save you a lot of time. It'll save you a lot of money. Another thing too, with the unsuccessful investors, one of the things that I noticed with the people that are very unsuccessful, they're not looking at the whole picture. All they're looking for is the cheapest, right? Oh, I want the lowest rate. Oh, I want the lowest fees. Oh, I want the lowest this. When I start hearing stuff like that, I start understanding, oh yeah, this guy's super unsuccessful. I know he's unsuccessful. And 9 times out of 10, he is. Just like I called it. You can still, we still end up closing those dudes, but they never actually get to the funding table because they're not good investors. I know that that's a red flag, because if you're running a business, you're not asking those type of questions. It's because you understand that price is not the most important thing, especially if you're running a successful business. For me, for example, I buy stuff for my company all the time, right? But I don't buy stuff because it's the cheapest. I buy stuff that is the best fit for my company, right? The marketing campaign that we do, I didn't buy the cheapest one. I bought the one that was the easiest to use and the most efficient for my company, even though it might have been on the higher end, right? Because I'm running a real business that makes real money. You get what I'm trying to say? So at the end of the day, the people that are unsuccessful, they don't treat it like a business. They treat it as if they're trying to buy something from a thrift shop. What's the cheapest shirt I can get? What's the best deal I can get? Like they're trying to buy something from a car dealership. Those are traits that will keep you unsuccessful. because you're not looking at the whole entire picture. I'm going to go off on one story. So, for example, I know a person, they hired a contractor, right? But they interviewed 10 different contractors, right? But instead of looking for the contractor who actually did the best work, the only question that this investor was asking these contractors was, what's the price? What's the bid? What's the price? What's the bid? And this investor didn't do no other research, and they only chose the contractor who was the cheapest. Come to find out, the contractor that was the cheapest ended up doing a horrible job. The tile was lopsided. They left grout. I mean, you can tell it was a horrible job from the pictures. And it was so sad because the place looked worse after the contractors went in. The before pictures looked better than the after pictures. Why? Because this particular investor was just looking for the cheapest, not the full overall picture. Is this person efficient? Do they show up on time? Do they answer my calls? Do they do this? Maybe they might be a couple $100 more expensive, but I get so much more out of it. Why won't I just go this route? Or even if it's a couple thousand, but this person is reliable, on time, gets stuff done efficiently. They actually save me more money in the long run. But that's the difference between somebody who's unsuccessful and somebody who's successful. Is an unsuccessful person just looks at price and they don't look at the full picture, and it costs them actually more in the long run, because guess what? The value of that house did not hit where he thought it was going to hit because he chose a cheap contractor. I hear stories like this all the time from unsuccessful people. So at the end of the day, when it comes to this investment thing, it's all about the maximum return on your dollar. And the only way you're going to get the maximum return on your dollar is having stuff done correctly, not having stuff done the cheapest. So that's a big mistake that a lot of unsuccessful investors make. Another thing that unsuccessful investors make is they do not understand the value of their time, right? The people who are very unsuccessful, they have a lot of questions that are irrelevant. They have a bunch of questions about stuff that has nothing to do with them making money. They're worried about the stupidest thing. Well, how much are you going to make on the deal? And what about this? And what about this? And just questions that have nothing to do with nothing. They're wasting their time. They're wasting my time. They're wasting everybody's time. One of the things with people who are unsuccessful is they don't value their time. They don't understand that their time is actually more important than money itself. How efficiently somebody can get something done for you is actually more important, especially when you're investing, right? If you're coming to me for a loan and I can tell you that I can get the loan done in 2 days, but you decide to go somewhere else that's going to take you 60 days, 45 days to fund because you can save a couple $100, that is what I call an unsuccessful investor who, going to be struggling their whole entire time in this real estate space, right? So those are a lot of the traits that I see from the unsuccessful people. Is it's really a mindset thing. You can hear it in their voice. You can hear it in the way they talk. You can hear it in the questions that they ask. I've dealt with so many investors that I can just hear it from a mile away. Just the type of questions that they ask, you can just tell that they're not running good business. And 9 times out of 10, we look at the bank statement, we realize they're not running a good business. You know what I mean? They just trying to put some stuff together. They saw some stuff on TV and they think investing is their thing. And then they gonna complain, well, investing didn't work for me. It's because of your mindset. Nothing will work for you. Nothing, right? It's not investing. Anything that you decide to do is not gonna work because you have to fix yourself before you try to jump into anything and make money. I had to fix myself before I ran a business. There are a bunch of things that I had to fix in myself before I started being successful in business. So that brings me to the successful investors. So now we got out of the way. We got all out of the way, all of the stuff that the unsuccessful people do. Now let's focus on the stuff that I want to focus on, which is what do the successful investors do? And this is what you want to model yourself after, right? So, contrary to what you believe, a lot of people think that, in order to be successful, you have to be extremely disciplined. You have to wake up 4 o'clock in the morning. You have to have a perfect schedule. You have to have everything. Yeah, that's not true. We're going to cut that out right now. That is not true. Mindset is extremely important. Is extremely important. The most successful investors that I have ran across, most of them are long-term thinkers, not short-term thinkers. Most of them understand the value of a relationship. Most of them understand the value of communication. Most of them understand the value of efficiency and speed. Most of them understand the value of getting the work done, understand the value of having a clean file, meaning getting it done sooner rather than later. So they understand things that people who are unsuccessful just don't understand. When I'm talking to a successful investor, I can tell within the first 2 minutes of that phone call who I'm dealing with. Just the way they handle themselves, what kind of questions they ask, how direct they are, how quick they are, and how efficient they are, and how quickly they make decisions based off of the information. Those tend to be my best clients. Those tend to be the clients that refer more business to me, and those tend to be the clients that continue to come back, and those tend to be the clients that appreciate our services the most. And those tend to be the clients who have the most in their bank account when we look at their bank statements, right? They don't sit around and cry over a couple hundred, a couple $1,000 here and there, because at the end of the day, if a couple hundred or a couple thousand is going to be the end of their deal, it wasn't a good deal to begin with. They understand the bigger picture, right? They understand that you pay for quality, right? CJ's team, they're really good at what they do. They get the job done very quickly, very efficiently. Time is money. This is a team I want to work with. You know what I mean? And I'm willing to pay a little bit more in order to get that service from that team, right? I'm not about to nickel and dime over $100, $200 a rate or anything like that, because at the end of the day, the thing that's important for a successful investor is actually getting the deal done in a fast and efficient manner. That is the biggest thing that I noticed between somebody who's not successful and somebody who is successful, right? The person who is successful values their time more than the person who is not. For example, I've had dinner and lunch with people who make millions. I've had dinner and lunch with people who don't got a penny to their name. The people who don't have a penny to the name, they never on time. They want to sit there and talk all day. They take forever to order. They have no value on their time. I eat dinner with the millionaires. They order as soon as the waiter comes. The waiter comes for water. They're like, no, we're ready to order. They put their orders in. The conversations that we have are very, very streamlined. The questions that they ask are important questions, and it's just a better overall process. Those are the personalities that I tend to connect with because, I am I am closer to that spectrum than I am the other spectrum, right? So, and another thing too, with the people who are unsuccessful, they complain a lot. It's a lot of complaining. It's a lot of victim and, finger pointing and, why me? And this happened because of this. And it's the appraiser's fault. And it's always somebody else's fault. What I noticed with the successful people, before we even set an appraisal, they already know the value. And 9 times out of 10, when we get the appraisal back, the appraisal is very close match to what they thought it was. Why? Because they did their homework. They did their research. They run a clean business. They're organized. They're prepared, right? If they're not good in those areas, they hire somebody who's good at that area. right? If they're not the most organized, they have a personal assistant, right? Those are the main differences between the unsuccessful and the successful. And one of the things that you have to do is, if you want to be that top 1%, you want to make millions of dollars, you want to jump into real estate investing, you want to adapt the personality traits of the successful, and you want to get rid of the personality traits of the unsuccessful. And trust me, I was there. I had to get rid of a lot of personality traits, right? Right. I mean, there was a point in time where, hey, I'm from the hood, right? I'm from a rougher neighborhood. My mom was extremely cheap. She penny pinched. I was, when I was younger, I was following that same kind of mindset. And I noticed that mindset kept me broke, because what ends up happening is you feel like you can cheat your way through life, and you don't realize that, maybe it'll be a lot easier if I just made more money, right? So I had to break out of that mindset. I had to break out of those chains, right? What's the cheapest? What's the cheapest? What's the cheapest food? What's the cheapest way I can eat? What's the cheapest place I can stay, right? But at the end of the day, quality of life is extremely important. Now it's not all about that. I'm nowhere near the cheapest, right? My t-shirts, my plain white t-shirts, and I know this might sound crazy, cost $80. And people be like, man, that's crazy, man. And I get people to say this: you can go to the Fruit of the Loom and buy a whole bag of t-shirts for $10. Yo, one t-shirt costs 80. Yes, because I like the quality. I don't like itching and scratching. I got sensitive skin. I don't like scratching and itching and feeling all uncomfortable in my skin because I want to buy a $5 white t-shirt, right? You know what I mean? I I pay more because I buy the full package. I see the full thing. What am I getting out of this, right? My car is a little bit on the higher end, but I liked all the bells and whistles. I like being able to put the navigation, and get to the destination that I want to get to without having to pull up my phone and connect and do all that crazy stuff. But it's the same thing with this real estate thing. It's the same thing when it comes to making money. It's the same thing when it comes to growth. It's the same thing when it comes to, anything that you want to achieve in life. You got to get rid of the old you. You know what I mean? There's got to be a piece of you that dies. There's got to be something that grows. There's got to be something where you just got to be like, obviously what I've been doing all of this time hasn't been working. Maybe I need to change my mindset. Maybe I need to change the way I view the world. Maybe I need to change the way I act. Maybe I need to change the way I move. Maybe I got to stop pointing the finger at others, and I need to look in the mirror and point at myself and say, these are the areas that I can get better. Because trust me, it's hard to do. I had to do it. I had to look in the mirror and tell myself, CJ, this area, you suck. You suck here, you suck here, you suck here, you suck here, right? And surely, over time, I turned all of those negatives about myself into positives. And lo and behold, what ends up happening? You turn those negatives into positives. What happens? It's like the universe just start working with you. You start making more money, right? It just is what it is, right? Stop making excuses, stop being so unorganized, right? Stop being a procrastinator, right? Stop not facing my fears, right? You know what I mean? Like, that's another thing too with the successful people, man. When they have an issue or a concern, they handle it right away, right? And that's one of the things that I do too. I don't wait for an issue or concern. I don't see something and try to hold back and just, I hope, that just go away somewhere. No, I see a concern, I'm ahead of it, right? Like, for example, if I have a borrower, they thought their appraisal was supposed to be, 240 and the appraisal came at 200. I'm calling that borrower as soon as I get their appraisal. Hey, I'm looking at this appraisal. Looks like it appraised for 200. Here are our solutions, right? We can dispute the appraisal. Here's exactly how I would do it. Or, if you cool with the 200, we can just keep the process going this way. What would you like to do, right? Something like that. People think that that's simple. People think that, there's a problem, he's ahead of it. He's calling the person. He's already has solutions for this person. As soon as that problem happens, you'll be surprised. People that aren't successful, they don't do that. They won't even let the person know, right? They won't even call the borrower. They'll try to try to sugarcoat it or try to beat around the bush or try to, you know what I'm trying to say? So another trait is, and this is probably the biggest trait, is facing your fears. That's probably the best thing that people that are successful do that people who are unsuccessful do not do. People who are unsuccessful, they have a problem with facing their fears. They have a problem with tackling something head on, right? They have a problem with getting ahead of the problem, right? Instead of just trying to run away from the problem or hide from the problem, which allows the problem to grow bigger, you know? So if you're watching this video, make sure you're taking notes. I know I was all over the place, but it was a very passionate video. I had to really break this down. I had to really break this into you guys' head. Is there are reasons why you aren't hitting your goals. There are reasons why you aren't investing in as many deals as you want to invest in. There are reasons why you're not making the money that you're making. You can use this in any realm of business, in any type of business. And a lot of that stems from you fixing the problems within yourself before you present that product, which is yourself, to the world. You know, there are reasons why you are struggling in your life to make ends meet. If that's you, right? Because there are a lot of people that are thriving. There are a lot of people that are just surviving. And at the end of the day, I made this video because I want to ask you the questions. I want to ask you this specific question. Where do you want to be, right? Do you want to be the person that's just surviving, food, water, shelter? Or you want to be the person that's thriving? You know what I mean? Vacations, relaxation, spas, being able to live the life that you want to live, the way that you want to live it. But in order to get there, you have to change things within yourself and you have to get rid of the old and in with the new. So that's my video for today, man. Thank you guys for watching. Like I said, man, I know I was all over the place with this video, but at the end of the day, keep supporting the channel. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We ain't going nowhere. Hard money hustle. Business keep growing. The page keep growing. And like I said, man, if you're a real estate investor out there and you need some hard money, private money, make sure you go to www.grandiosecapital.com and let's make some things happen. Take care.